Welcome back to True Stories Based on Fiction. I am Evan, the third host, and I'm joined always by
Randy.
Boom. So what we're going to do today is review the show all of you on the internet at least seem to have been loving. And that is the Disney Plus original Marvel superhero show, WandaVision.
WandaVision. No, that's not it.
WandaVision.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
Who said that?
It's in the theme song.
WandaVision. I've never heard the theme song. Like towards the end? Like when
in the beginning. Like when they're doing the WandaVision. No?
No.
First couple episodes had the like the old school.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, yep.
Had the old school thing.
Motif, as it were. All right. So as we record this, the season finale of WandaVision just premiered on Friday.
So spoilers, obviously.
Yes.
Going into this because we'll talk about
starting now.
Whatever spoilers. Big things on the screen. It says spoilers. Done. All right.
Yep.
So what'd you think?
Well, first, let's give a little recap of the show. So the show is about Wanda Maximoff, who was one half of the sibling twins from the earlier Avenger movies, and her brother Pietro was murdered by Ultron. So this show picks up after the events of this, not Snap, but what's the reverse of Snap?
Blip.
The blip, yes.
Yep.
And when Wanda in the last couple of movies has lost everything, gets she told Thanos in that meme.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't even know who you are. So Wanda has obviously had some PTSD, because this is spoiler territory. So what happens is she creates a pocket universe of sorts when her mental illness, because this is also a show about PTSD and mental illness. She takes the entire city, a small city, and she makes it her own. And she basically goes through different sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s because one of her coping mechanisms for being a childhood to deal with her loss and grief was watching sitcoms, something that her family did back in Sokovia. Sokovia back in the day. Yeah. So when she does this, she creates her a brand new vision, and he has no recollection of what happened before. He knows that he loves Wanda. So we go through all this, and there's little bleeps in it that let us know that things are not right in this fairy tale land. Nope. And it all comes to pass that she did create this world, and there's friends and foes who come and go, and people we thought were friends or foes, and people we thought were siblings were really just actors.
Mm-hmm.
So overall,
a lot of them.
Yes. What did you think about WandaVision? Disney Plus is.
I liked it from the beginning because for one, we've been in such a Marvel drought because like nothing came out in 2020, right? Marvel-wise, nothing. So we were a year without anything Marvel. So it was good to see WandaVision pop up. I think watching the first few episodes, they leave it kind of like a mystery. Mm-hmm. But that's not what the show's about.
No.
I think because I even compared it to like watching the first few episodes. It felt kind of like Lost, where they try to grab you like the last 5 minutes or so with something new, like another string to go on to the next thing. But if you watch the show entirely, it does not have that. If you know what's going on from the beginning, it doesn't have that feeling at all. And it's much more of just Wanda dealing with her grief and her sadness, as opposed to somebody messing with her. Yeah.
And they definitely played with the different options of who could be doing this thing. And then, like you said, it's definitely about grief and PTSD. And what made me like the most, number one, I didn't start watching it until episode 8 came out. So I watched the first 8 over a weekend, and I watched the last one that came out a few days ago. So I think that's definitely why I liked it so much, because if this were a weekly show, I'm not sure that I would have the patience for it, honestly.
And that's probably why you see so many theories online about, this is Mephisto, or no, it's really is there somebody called the Undertaker or something? Not the WWE one, but
no, Mephisto.
Nightmare was another one. They said there was some dude's armor in like the opening of one of the things. Like his armor piece, his headpiece.
Ultron?
Not Ultron.
Dr. Doom?
No.
Magneto?
No.
I'm not sure.
I mean, there was enough Magneto tips in there. But they said they saw someone's armor in like the house in the cartoon at the beginning. I don't know. There's tons of Easter eggs in there that where they could have led it a different way than they did. Obviously, the big reveal was that Agatha Harkness was there the whole time,
which was kind of weird because it would have made more sense if she played a bigger role in being there, but she just happened to be in the city that Wanda took over. What it made, she followed the trail of the magic. Is what she said in one of the last episodes. That's still dumb.
Yeah, she's like, she saw the...
Wanda had just got to that city.
Wanda had just gotten to that city, but when she did the whole thing, when she did the spell to create or take over the whole city and create the house and create Vision, Agatha said she saw entrails or like chemtrails of certain of these spells or these very powerful spells. So I don't know if she just saw that and like was, hey, what's up? Or if she was hanging out in Salem and then saw it. It doesn't really specify.
And it doesn't really land because
Agatha didn't have a house there, so she wasn't living there. So
you bring up some very good points, and honestly, those points make it not as good. That's a pretty big plot hole then, because Wanda didn't live in this city, and she went on a road in her Buick, which they made a point to make sure you saw that it was a Buick.
Oh, you gotta see the logo. Yeah.
She's just driving, and then she finds like this small town, right?
No, she had a deed.
Because Vision bought us. Okay.
To grow old, and
that still doesn't show why Agatha was there or how she could see her.
Agatha is, from what it sounds like, is she absorbs power.
I get that part of it.
So she saw these powerful spells somehow, somewhere.
But what powerful spells?
The house, the hex,
and
being made.
She got there that quickly.
Evidently.
I guess because she does magic.
Magic.
And they also should have had something like that talked about like her husband that never showed up. That's always a trope from TV. Someone have a husband or a wife that was never on the camera.
Well, she took over Ralph's house.
Yes. That was also... So, again, this is spoiler territory and we'll be all over the place. I did love this show, but sometimes I find it more interesting to talk about things I didn't like. It would have been better if Pietro was from a different universe somehow, but he was basically like...
They casted him just to fuck with everybody.
Yes, but it turned into like the Mandarin from Iron Man 3.
Yep.
Exactly.
Ralph Boner.
Yeah.
Boners to bone.
And how did Agatha get him in? And
she put that thing around his neck and was controlling him.
But where did she find him?
That was his house.
Oh, that was...
He was living in the house.
Did she say that
she cast the spell on him with the necklace? She was controlling his mouth, his eyes and ears and mouth. So she was talking through him to Wanda.
Was she calling her husband Ralph this whole time too, though?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
She said, "My husband Ralph."
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I would like it better if because this is the second time that Marvel has teases with this multiverse, but they're taking it back. Because Spider-Man 2 was a big tease of the multiverse, which they took back. Same things happen now. But then they call Doctor Strange, his title is like the multiverse
of madness.
And they could have been easily tied into this. It was like, maybe this Piet, or leave the mystery. Like, there was no need to solve that mystery.
No, that is he was an actor that lived in this town.
Yeah.
And he was being controlled by Agatha.
Yeah. That didn't land that well. But what did land well is, and I give Disney credit for this, because why I haven't been liking the Marvel Disney properties as much anymore, because they've turned it into kids movies, and I feel like they don't take a lot of risk anymore. Especially, I didn't feel like they would on Disney Plus, but this show did take a risk, and people don't even realize it. because the primary audience for these Disney Marvel shows are probably kids now anyhow. But having the first 3 episodes be about sitcoms from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, these kids don't know what the fuck that is, and they don't care about it. But they stuck to it, and these were entire episodes besides like that last little tag at the end.
Yeah,
they were completely in these different
in the style.
Yeah, and the fact that they took their time with it and like they didn't just say fucking and like and changed around more much. I give them the utmost respect for that.
Well, for the Dick Van Dyke episode, Dick Van Dyke was consulted.
Really?
For it, yeah.
I didn't think that Dick Van Dyke was alive, so that's a blessing.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah, no. He was around for it. They consulted him on it. They even talked to him. He's like, oh, so these shows, they're making a lot of money, huh? Like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's cool. Oh, you guys got your own little thing going here. That's great. He has no idea what the MCU is or anything. So they were talking about the show and what it was like. He's like, oh, that's kind of neat that you guys got this little little thing here. Hey, more power to you.
I'm surprised that he has his mind still.
Yeah.
Wow. Because he has to be in his 90s.
At least.
Because in the 90s when he had like his show about him being a cop, what was that called?
Doctor...
I don't think he was a doctor.
He was a doctor.
Was he a doctor now?
Yeah, his son was a cop. Who played... is it Dr. Murder? No. My wife watches it. But it's he's a doctor. His son is a detective or a cop. And it's actually his son. Because we were watching it one day, my wife's like, wow. They did some good casting on there because the person they cast for his son looks a lot like him.
I looked this up now. Because, like, he had the white hair and, like, the white lab coat on or something.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so...
But he was helping his son solve crimes.
That's what it was. So, who else did... Because the 50s was mainly him and a little... Yeah, and the 60s was Bewitched and...
Bewitched.
Well, the first one was Dick Van Dyke and a little bit...
The first one was Dick Van Dyke, a little bit...
I Love Lucy.
Yep. A little bit I Love Lucy. The second one was...
First thing that comes up is Dick Van Dyke alive?
Is Dick Van Dyke alive?
That's funny. But we're good for him. He was born in 1925.
He's almost 100 years old. Damn.
His wife died in 1984 and he married in 2012.
Good for you, Dick.
Nah, she's about to take all this money.
Yeah, probably.
No, but she's like 80 herself. She's not that young. It's probably 50 or something.
He looks happy, though.
He does.
He looks happy.
Dementia will do that to you. But, yes.
Did you find the name of that show?
Oh, I did find the name of that show. Dementia's getting me, too. Dick Van Dyke shows. But, yeah, so the first episode was a little bit of I Love... No, this is a tangent, but I thought about it. I liked when they had the episode where the 2 beds were on the opposite sides of the room, then they brought them together. Because no one in America, in the world, ever had a bedroom where the husband and wife slept in separate beds. I think at the bed store they told you don't buy 2 beds. You can sleep in the same bed. It's something they did only for TV.
Because they couldn't show it on TV. They couldn't show them in the same bed at that time. Because it was passe.
I wonder how people thought about that in real life. Like,
I don't know.
Should we not be doing this in real life? I can't find another show. I don't want a Dick Van Dyke show. I'll put Dick Van Dyke's second show. 90s show. We'll put 90s show. Because I got to find this show out. Diagnosis Murder.
Diagnosis Murder. I said Dr. Murder. I was wrong.
I knew it had an M in it. I knew it had an M.
Yep. Diagnosis Murder. The Dick Van Dyke.
America's Sweetheart.
Diagnosis Murder. I know that other episode was the second episode was like Bewitched. Like it kind of felt like Bewitched / I Dream of Jeannie to me.
Yes,
a little bit.
I agree. 70s was
more Brady Bunch style.
Yep.
Even though is that what she started to have? She started to have the kids in that one, right? That's when she threw Monica out of the whole thing. And that's where they first broke the wall, or kind of went outside the world a little bit in that one. So then we could see exactly what was going on outside.
Now, when they got to the 80s and 90s, that's when I got confused about what shows like they were doing.
Malcolm in the Middle.
That was That should have been 2000, shouldn't it? Because like Malcolm Middle was in the 90s.
I don't know. Like one of them felt like a Full House episode,
which was late 80s.
Yeah.
To me, it's 90s show, but technically started like the 80s episode
80s,
was definitely Growing Pains, Full House,
Family Ties.
Yeah. 90s. I felt like they did Malcolm in the Middle.
I feel like they should have had
Al Bundy.
Or had Mr. Belvedere.
Yes. Or Martin.
Or Martin. Oh, I could have did Martin.
That would have been hilarious.
Could see Vision walk.
If Vision was Martin with the Technicolor sweaters on and shit.
Oh, my God. Notice they stayed away from Bill Cosby.
Yes. What if they did like the episode of Martin where Gina got her head stuck in the bedpost because they were fucking being freaky, and then like she had to go to like a business meeting, but he couldn't get the thing off. She just put a suit on. Where they took the classic trope of a sitcom, but it made it 90s and modern and edgy.
Yep. That would have been great.
And Paul, I'll put out there, I think the Paul Bettany would have made a good Martin. Gina, what the heavens are you doing? Where's Beanie Bean?
Wanda!
You go, boy.
Only if Vision also showed up as Shanae.
That would have been funny.
You just see this Vision show up as Shanae.
That would have been hilarious. And then in the 2000s, they did like Modern Family,
The Office.
Office type show. And so they did a very good job for the most part, but I think that some of the writers were a little bit too young. And they didn't really know. Because, and I'm not sure, now, they can say that this is why they're getting things confused, but it had the Parent Trap and the
Incredibles.
Yeah, and those came out in different decades. Parent Trap was like 97, and like Incredibles was like 2004. So that was also like, is this bad Easter eggs? But you can always just say, oh, nope, that's Wanda.
They did the Incredibles family pose at the end, though.
Yep.
In the last episode.
Yes. Now, we're jumping all around, but this is how our reviews go.
Yep.
The last episode was kind of trash.
It was interesting. I wouldn't say trash because I know a lot of people were just expecting different stuff. I got exactly what I expected out of it.
Did you?
By that point.
I was kind of bored.
I mean, this was Wanda's story the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought there's gonna be this huge cameo, or they're gonna bring in another villain, or something like that. But the entire thing was Wanda's story about her PTSD, her grief. There was no need to bring anybody else in. I know a lot of people were. Everybody's kind of. You read the internets. Everybody's torn on the last episode, whether it was
torn like Creed.
Torn. More torn like Natalie and Bruno.
Oh, okay.
Things are head on torn.
Oh, and I'm empty. That seems more appropriate.
See, it's both.
In my misery.
It's both. See, one half the internet's Natalie Bruno, and one half me. See, that's what it is. The end, like the very end, with her just leaving the town, kind of stupid, but.
Yes.
The everybody just kind of standing there and looking at her, like "fuck you."
Yeah, because they kind of didn't, and I guess this is artistic, but they made it sound like she was a villain, then she wasn't a villain, and she's definitely the villain.
So these people, she was a villain.
She is a villain, even if this was subconsciously.
Truth. And
there were points where people tried to point out to her that this isn't right, and like old girl did, Monica. And she kicked her out of the city and then towards the end of the show, it made it seem like she's innocent in all this, and it just happened because of her greed. But she knew what was happening, or at least she knew that she was happy.
She was cognizant of what was going on.
Yes, but she acted like she wasn't at the end.
And she created her own world. It's essentially like what that movie, The Life of Truman.
Yes, Truman Show.
Truman Show. Yeah.
And they had in Pleasantville.
Yep.
With Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Same kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're cognizant of what's going on. Well, they were doing it to him. This is kind of the opposite of the Truman Show, where she was doing it all to them and controlling them to make up her own life and make her own happiness.
but it was also in her subconscious at the same time. Like she knew about the vision part and the kids part,
Right.
but and she was working on these people subconsciously. So that's where it gets a little complex or dumb.
Like the one woman begging for her to put her daughter in a storyline just so she could see her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've kept all these kids away from us the whole time. You've kept them locked in their rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Let them out. It's freaking weird.
It's probably the most mature thing that Marvel has, or Disney Marvel has done. Because the themes in this are really not really for kids.
And I see everybody's comparing it to House of M.
Yep.
Which...
It's not really House of M. The only thing...
It's different than House of M. The only thing... It's her creating her own reality.
Which happened, and that's a perfect segue for me, because this show was essentially based off 2 or 3 different shows, or comic book storylines. The first one and foremost was Vision and the Scarlet Witch from the 80s. That's when the kids first were made from Wanda's subconscious, and they had basically it was pretty close to what happened in the show, to where she
Conjured them.
She went crazy and conjured kids because of her love and her and she had like a psychiatric break. That is also based off the Vision miniseries from there a couple of years ago, to where the Vision he built his own family, and like they lived in like a Leave the Beaver type neighborhood, all that he made in his head. And then a little bit of House of M, because that's when her twins came back. Because Wanda, in her history, has always been a little bit, and I'm not sure why she was fractured mentally in the books, because like her brother didn't die in the books.
Well, in the movies it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
If you look at Wanda's life entirely just in the MCU, started off when she was a little girl, her country was at war, so it looked like a civil war or something. Her parents die in a bombing.
Tragic scene too.
Yeah, very tragic. Later, she joins up with Hydra, trying to change the world because of the grief that she had with her parents and waiting for Tony Stark to kill her for 2 days. Which in the show they made it sound like that she controlled the bomb subconsciously, or I don't know if that's actually how it went or if it was a dud, but they're kind of ambiguous to it.
I'll let you finish the point you're making now. Well, not let you finish like I'm trying to do. Well,
I'm gonna let you finish.
After you finish that point, I'll get into my theory about the whole show, which Brian from the podcast network didn't really agree upon in our group chat, but like you were saying.
So she watched her parents die, joins Hydra because of the grief from her parents, because they want to change the world and try to make it better. From her point of view, that's what she's seeing, because Tony Stark, she sees the Stark Industry bomb. Tony Stark wants it dead. Right. That's what she sees. She goes on, joins up with the Avengers after Tony Stark creates a murder robot. Which then she joins up with him. Then her brother dies. Then she goes around again, still with the Avengers, the same group that Tony helped create, and the only person she sees solace with is Vision, who's just another super being that has absolutely... But
the son, technically, of the murder robot that Tony created.
Correct.
So it's deep.
And then she sees him die twice. She got a lot going on. Like, she's seen nothing but death her whole life.
Yeah.
So to her, human emotion, that's why her and Vision really worked out, because Vision isn't all about emotion. Her emotions died a long time ago.
Yep.
So that's why they kind of mesh.
And then she killed all those people.
She did kill all those people, yeah.
Inadvertently, but still, like, and sparked.
In Civil War, she's the one that sparked the Civil War because of killing those people, because of the controlling of her powers. So she's got a lot of grief and a lot of stuff to deal with. So for her conscious to just do this, it's in character for her.
Yeah. They made a character who was honestly vastly uninteresting, besides when she was a human fucking robot.
Yeah.
But they made her character amazing in so much layers to it, and like so much depth. And I'm not sure if they had this plan for her from the beginning, for her not to be an interesting character and turn into probably the most interesting Avenger. But they did it, because this was a show that of the shows that were announced,
I had no interest in the show whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
I'm like, oh, okay, it'll be a Marvel show that I'll probably watch, but
at some point, yeah.
I ended up watching like every Friday morning. My daughter and I would get up and watch it. That was like our ritual every Friday morning, is to get up and watch it before she went to school.
Wow.
So, and she loved it. I don't think she gets all
First
of
3
it.
episodes.
Yeah, she doesn't really understand all of it, but she understands enough of it where she sees that Wanda did this to all these people.
Mm-hmm.
And Wanda really didn't care.
Not really.
I mean, you can look at it. Her whole thing was to protect this world that she made,
family that she created from her mind,
and they can't live outside the hex.
Oh, but to that point, thank you for that segue. So the point that I was making that people aren't really catching on to, but what I think they're going to do, which makes sense because it's a perfect segue. People were discussing the chaos magic and her being like the Scarlet Witch and all that's fine. Mm-hmm. But what I think they're really doing, and what I hope they're doing, is having a segue to how mutants can have always existed in the Marvel, in the MCU. Because your average mutant in the comic books, cartoon movies, whatever, they typically manifest their powers around between 10 and 13, so like around puberty ages. And it typically happens in a time of stress. Perfect example, Cyclops. He was in school being bullied, and then his eyes exploded, and like he did his optic blast thing. So what I saw is happening when Wanda and her family had that bomb, and then she did something to make the bomb not explode, was her...
That's her manifesting her powers.
Her powers. Saying that the experiments that they put on her only enhanced her powers, but it didn't really do that to her. Right. And there's also people saying that her hex power actually gave her brother his powers, like not like the Mind Stone. But that kind of got proven untrue when she said that she used a piece of the Mind Stone that was in her to create the Vision. But that also kind of reinforces my point, though, that the powers were already in her. Because if she used her part of the Mind Stone, put it and made Vision from that, that means the Mind Stone isn't in her anymore, but she's even more powerful now.
I'd agree she's more powerful now. I think that Mind Stone amplified her power when she was exposed to it or whatever.
But people think it's just like the chaos magic, but I think it was her mutant power. Now, I will say that Scarlet Witch has one of the most convoluted histories of any mutant, and I don't understand her powers at all. I never have. And so...
Yeah,
I don't know.
Nobody has. Especially from Age of Ultron, when she was just doing this and doing the red magic to make him see things that weren't there. Mm-hmm.
Her powers make
and
no
then
sense.
she also has telekinesis, which...
Her powers make no sense.
Yeah.
Her powers are...
But she's powerful enough where she made a whole town and controlled everybody and ran multiple storylines the whole time.
In her subconscious.
In her subconscious. And except the people at the edge of the town were just stuck there doing this the whole time, or picking up a pumpkin and setting it down, and picking it up and setting it down, and then crying about it because they couldn't move.
That was
deep.
But then they also tried to make it seem as though that she was subconsciously helping these people out, because the mom from that 70s show, they gave her a husband because he never appeared again.
Right.
So she also invented that man.
Yep.
Yeah, because did the boss pop up in the 6 or 7?
No.
I don't think he did, yeah.
No.
And also, like, the dude with the stash wanted to learn how to play, like, the piano, so they made him own a piano.
Yep.
And then, like, I think, like, the black dude had something, too.
He
had some type of
something.
Yeah, because, like, he had, like, a fire... No. Maybe not the black dude, but, like, the UPS guy.
He was carrying stuff when she first walked in the town.
He was like DoorDash driver,
like
yeah. I guess his real dream was to be a mail carrier, like not like a DoorDash driver. I mean, better pay.
Don't shoot the delivery man, or whatever he said. Or don't shoot the messenger.
Yes. So they try to make it so they made it like her mental state all over the place. But it was very interesting that Marvel chose this as a platform to discuss grief, PTSD, and mental illness. Because that's definitely what the show is really about.
Yeah.
And it also gave Ashley Olsen a reason for her sinking accent that comes and goes.
Elizabeth Olsen.
Yes.
Ashley's her sister.
Yes. Because that accent, even in the movies, I think in the last movie she didn't have an accent at all.
No. But she gave reasoning to it in this show. kind of.
No, she always just watching them have an accent now.
They
in the
talked
show,
about it in the
but
show.
not watching them have it in the movies.
No,
because she said, "You know what? I'm not gonna do this accent."
She slips back into it anytime she's talking about Sokovia or her brother.
That's true, though.
In the show,
and at this point, she's been in America for a few years. Because some people do lose their accent the longer they're somewhere else. Like Thor, well, not accent wise, but how Thor in the last Thor movie was more jokey because he's been in. He
no longer has his Australian accent.
I'm Thor. But because he's been in Midgard for so long, that's why he can be more quippy and jokey because he gets our sense of humor now.
Yep. Instead of being surprised by everything like he was in the first Thor movie.
Yeah. But yeah, and it was good that they had all these cameos and recurring roles from other people. I thought that Monica Rambeau was done beautifully. Yep,
Monica, to see the dark side of the blip.
Yeah,
because everything we've seen so far, like we saw it in Spider-Man, but it was more jokey. Like, oh, everybody just popped up at the same time. But seeing people at the she was at the hospital waiting with her mom when she was sick, and then she comes back, and it's 5 years later. Her mom's not there at all.
Her mom was getting better for being sick like that. Did like a blood test or whatever. Like her mom was in remission. And then she got back, her mom, man.
Mom was dead. I'm sorry, honey, your mom died.
That was heavy. 5 years ago, your mom died.
Yeah.
That was heavy.
Yeah. It never explained the resentment towards Captain Marvel, but she resented Captain Marvel.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, she straight up resented Captain Marvel. Anytime her name was talked, Monica either rolled her eyes or just shit talked. But
I was going to bring it up too, because that was interesting.
It was deep. Like, something's off with her because she does not care for Captain Marvel at all.
Which means
Captain Marvel left and just left everybody to die, or if she hates that, or if there's something else that happened there.
They may have had an interaction that we haven't seen because we don't know what the time frame was from the blip and when she went back to the Sword headquarters.
Yeah.
So
true, but I don't think she would have seen Captain Marvel in that time from the ways they've described everything. So the blip, so this whole thing takes place about 2 weeks after the blip.
Okay.
So it would have been about 2 weeks.
And we don't know where Captain Marvel is in the new story, in the new timeline anyway.
No. She came down, messed up Thanos' ship, and then she probably could have left or stayed.
Yeah. But obviously Monica has been debriefed on Captain Marvel and knows that it's her old auntie. Carol Danvers. So it's going to be interesting seeing Captain Marvel. Honestly, Captain Marvel 2, I'm more interested to see Monica Rambeau than Captain Marvel. And Monica Rambeau is now known as Spectrum, but in the past, she was the first woman to be known as Captain Marvel, not the Captain Marvel we know. Because she's always Miss Marvel in the books.
Yeah.
But Monica Rambeau was the first person besides the first initial Captain Marvel to be known as Captain Marvel. And she's also the first woman and the first black woman to lead the Avengers back in the book. Because she had like a Jerry curl.
I was trying to figure out what her powers were.
I don't know, bro.
She can see like
different spectrums of light.
Different spectrums.
And it does
like,
something.
It looked like she could see like electromagnetic fields or something.
She does cable in wireless internet.
That's what it looks like. But her eyes go blue.
Yeah.
You can shoot bullets at her and it just goes through her.
I mean, I'm not a science guy, so I don't know what her powers are. I know she should have the powers of the original Captain Marvel, which is what Carol Danvers has. But since then, they've changed her powers up to make her something else. Because she even known as photon before, and I don't know what photons are. It's some kind of scientific ray, isn't it? Or energy field?
Yeah, photons or energy.
Yeah.
Photons, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's been like... And what's crazy is when Monica Rambeau was first introduced, she had like a Jerry curl fro, like a soul glow, and like it didn't look good. But now that black hairstyle have gone more towards a natural look, Monica Rambeau's hairstyle is perfect for what that character had, and she looks damn good.
Side note: Coming to America 2, Soul Glow, So Grow. That's So Grow. But
yeah, I'm very. I I'm more excited to see where her character goes than Jimmy Woo, who's also in the books.
Yeah, I mean Jimmy was alright. I'd like to see Darcy back just because I'm a fan of Kat Dennings.
I'm a fan of Kat Dennings, but she had no place in the show at all.
I know.
She's in there just for reasons. Is Jimmy Woo's eye fucked in real life?
Where he's like, oh?
Yeah.
Other shows I've seen him in, he's kind of like that.
Is it like lazy out like Forrest Whitaker? Or
Randall Park?
Or like, did he have a stroke?
I don't think he had a stroke.
That's definitely like a Forrest Whitaker eye. Now, this eye, in pictures at least, is smaller than this one. But like, not like, but on our videos I watch because I'm paranoid about this. Like, my eyes look the same, but in pictures, his eyes are always like little bits.
My eyes are squinting no matter what. I have no control over that.
At least they're evenly squinted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but Jimmy Woo is in the comic book series. Apparently, his character is old, like from the 50s. Like he's one of the first Asian characters, I believe.
Really?
And he's in a team called the Agents of Atlas. A book that I've never read before, but in like 2006, it was very popular.
And he was in the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Was that his first appearance?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where he learned. So
that
that's I said they tied in with his magic over. So evidently during the last 5 years, because he I'm guessing Jimmy Woo was not blipped because he learned all the those magic tricks that Ant-Man was doing, including the getting himself out of the handcuffs and the card trick and stuff like that.
The handcuff part too. Yeah, you're right. I wonder if Jimmy Woo is Cassie's new stepdad.
Did the other one die?
I don't know, but like, how do you learn all these magic tricks? I felt like Cassie taught him.
He watched them on YouTube.
You think so?
It shows him in the movie in Ant-Man and the Wasp watching the YouTube.
It does.
Yeah.
You're right. It does show him.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, because Ant-Man told him that he's like lots of YouTube, learning how to do these tricks.
Yeah,
so
like,
he was doing he was. You see him in that movie.
I think like
doing
an
those
outro,
tricks.
right? Like,
Something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
you're right. Yep.
Just for a second, it just shows it for a second because he was obsessed with how he did it.
Mm-hmm. He was obsessed how he did it too.
Yep.
Yeah, Ant-Man and Wasp is like a underrated gem of like the Marvel universe.
It is.
Unlike the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is trash 1 and 2. But I might go back and watch that and Doctor Strange because like they're both on Disney Plus, right?
They're both on Disney Plus, and they're both tie into the WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I'm like the whole time she's doing all this stuff. Like, where's Doctor Strange?
Where's everybody?
Yeah,
that's always the conceit of these shows. If there's something that this big is going on. Well, granted, I guess
she took over a whole town in New Jersey.
But if this is 2 weeks after the blip, we know that Peter Parker is in France.
Yeah,
and the Avengers are
all scattered out.
Yeah, because we don't know what happened to the Avengers really after this, so it kind of makes sense why they aren't around. I think
he, as soon as Loki showed up in Ragnarok, he sets foot on the planet. Doctor Strange immediately put him in a warp. So, like, I would imagine Doctor Strange would try to do the same thing to Wanda.
But Wanda, once he started doing that crazy shit, but like at this point, and then we don't know where Doctor Strange is right now.
That's true.
He had his hands full. They said that. Now, one thing that was missing, that typically, well, a lot of times in the movies will say Captain America will return and blah blah blah. I was thinking that they would say
Wanda will return in
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Could have said that she's going to be in it.
Yeah, according to the poster that's floating around, it has a big picture of her on it.
Sam Raimi coming back to Marvel Universe.
And it's supposed to be like a horror movie.
Which is what Sam is good at.
Yep.
But knowing Marvel's going to be a little bit of a horror movie, mainly a comedy.
Probably.
But this wasn't that much of a comedy besides the...
It was dark.
Yeah, because even those scenes in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, in the context of it, on the surface it's comedy, but it's really a tragedy.
It is.
Because she's...
Hey...
And the
comedy equals tragedy plus time.
Comedy plus time, yeah.
Yeah.
The ads were like the lady in the ads, and it was always funny because like the mom was always an Anglo-Saxon woman, like the father was an Indian, and then the kids were one kid was black, one kid was white.
I know.
So that was awkward, but as each ad went on, that lady looked sadder and sadder. One time she had a tear. Those ads were amazing for that reason.
I think Wanda was making those people make those ads.
Yes, of course.
Yep. But it makes sense if you go back and watch the episode where Agatha was making her revisit everything. Mm-hmm. The first one was obviously the bomb, the Stark toaster. Then she goes and to Hydra. They had the Hydra soak stuff. The next one was, I don't remember all of them. But I remember the Yo Magic one where the kid's on the island with the shark. Mm-hmm. Like, well, that's kind of where she's at right now, using her magic, stuck on her own island.
And then like the depression one from the 2000s, that's her right now too.
Yeah, that's her right now.
And it was cool how they had the ads evolve with the decades too.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't have seen like an ad for depression pills in the 50s.
No,
you just hit it.
You just suck it up, buddy.
Suck it up. Especially if you're a man. Mm-hmm. Man can't get depressed or have anxiety.
As my daughter likes to tell me, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit.
That is toxic.
I know.
That is a terrible way for your child to be. Live your feelings, guys. Okay, so this review is going on a bit long, but yeah, so overall, I really like the show. How many drunk Iron Mans would you give the Disney Plus MCU show WandaVision?
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 20. No, an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. The ending left it way wide open. They're not going to do another series, which is smart.
Yeah, it called it a series finale.
Everybody's like, they're going to do another season? Like, no, why would you? There's no reason to do another season. If you did another season, that'd be stupid. What, you can have Vision back? Which we didn't touch upon that.
Yeah.
Vision,
should we touch upon that? Because I don't know what the fuck happened in last
Vision
episode.
left.
So
the real Vision's there. Or the real
white
Vision was the white Vision. Other Vision unlocked his memories, and he's like, well, fuck it, I'm out. And then left. We don't know what Vision is at this point.
How did
But he was woken.
The 50s Vision even have the memories? Because like they were deep inside his.
It was Wanda's memories of Vision. Because that's all the memories he could have.
That's all. Yeah. Okay. That's all he had. Because I thought what he was gonna do in that fight, which happens a lot,
How merged together.
Not even merged together. You said the Vision can only it's my mission to kill the Vision. I thought he said, well, you're the Vision, and then
have him destroy himself.
Yeah, that's what I thought was gonna happen. But nope, they thought they got really psychological.
Yeah.
Because that part gave me a headache.
Yeah, he said, let me access, is it okay if I access your memory or whatever? They had some theological discussion while flying around.
Very Batman-esque.
Yeah. And he's like, the carbon still holds something. They can't block everything from you. So he unblocked whatever was still in his muscle memory, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. And they were able to make him become sentient again. I think that's where I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Due to Wanda's magic when she kicked him out, right? Or something like that.
When she threw that drone out, the magic was still on the drone somehow. Magic.
And after all these years, it kind of feels like Vision is a slave to the Scarlet Witch then.
A little bit.
Because what if the Vision had like a side chick, but then like now he doesn't, and like he really loved his side chick, and he's gonna leave Wanda for her, but now he can't because Wanda just fuck with his head.
Well, it's like that movie, My Super Ex-Girlfriend.
It's probably the only time anyone's ever referenced that movie in the history of YouTube. Even if a movie is on YouTube.
Wanda throws a shark through the window.
Super Ex-Girlfriend. Who was that? Uma Thurman, right?
Uma Thurman. I can't remember who the other girl was.
Who's the dude?
Was it Luke Wilson?
I think it was Luke Wilson, yeah.
It sounds like a Luke Wilson part.
Yeah, not Owen. Wow. Okay.
Who's going to play Mobius?
Playing who?
Mobius. In the Loki show.
Mobius?
Mobius, something like that.
Morpheus, maybe.
Is it? I think it's Mobius.
I don't think the Marvel has like a Mobius though.
Time guy?
DC has a time guy called Mobius, so like has like a Mobius chair.
I don't know. He plays some time guy, and I heard his name was Mobius.
Could be. I don't proclaim to know everything about Marvel, especially when it gets to the cosmic and like the fantasy aspects of it. But I also give the show 8 drunk Iron Mans. It was really good. It did have some problems, but overall, for the bravery that Marvel Disney had to not do something that's going to be kitty and cookie cutter to talk about real issues, at least in the subtext, was amazing to me.
And there was an interview with Elizabeth Olsen saying she's like my favorite storyline for Scarlet Witch would be House of M. She's like, but I don't see that ever happening in the MCU
because it's too dark.
Because it was too dark.
I mean,
but this was like 2016 when she said this.
Yeah.
So times have gotten a lot darker.
Yeah, and that could definitely happen because it also gives them a chance to maybe recast some people, and like that could be like a standalone thing too, because it takes everybody who's in there now and then flips everything.
You can do the What If series.
Exactly, and also to that point, it couldn't have been a coincidence that her Scarlet Witch costume looks just like the Magneto costume from, I think that was Apocalypse, or maybe that was Dark Phoenix.
One of them. It looked exactly like it.
It looked exactly like it. But so one last note before we get out of here, I promise. What's ironic is in the comic books, they've said that Magneto is not their father anymore because of the Disney movies. They wanted to separate those. But now they're one again. I wonder if they've done a retcon of that in the books and or in the movies. But those are just my thoughts. But anyway, I hope you liked this episode of True Stories Based on Fiction, the podcast network and podcast show. If you did like it, make sure you do comments, you subscribe, you share to all your friends, and also check us out on the True Stories Based on Fiction podcast network, which has episodes available 3 times a month. And we'll see you back here next time for the next episode of True Stories Based on Fiction.